She doesn't lose her mind over the man who gives her everything she wants. She doesn't stay awake at night thinking about the one who treats her like a princess. She forgets the man who tried to win her with gifts, poems, and promises. What she cannot forget is the man who disarmed her without warning, who pierced through her defenses with a single well-placed question that shook her core. Attraction doesn't always come from muscles, money, or charm. It comes from provoking the parts of her she hides, the shadows she doesn't dare to reveal, the contradictions she doesn't admit even to herself. And that is where you must go if you want to haunt her. Most men talk to impress. They recite lines, they try to be funny, they try to be agreeable, they try to present themselves as the perfect option. But women don't become addicted to the perfect option. They become addicted to the one who unsettles them, the one who makes them question themselves, the one who makes them feel something they can't quite control. That is the difference between being liked and being unforgettable. And here's the truth no one tells you. Words are weapons when they're aimed with precision. The right question, asked at the right moment, can cut deeper than any compliment, can ignite more desire than any physical touch, can create a memory that lingers for years. This is the Machiavellian art of seduction. Not manipulation, not cruelty, but strategy. Understanding that a woman is not conquered by trying harder, by proving yourself, by over-investing. She is conquered by making her reveal herself. By pulling her into places she doesn't usually go. By touching the contradictions in her soul that even she doesn't fully understand. And that begins with questions. 10 questions so powerful that they bypass the surface and hit her where it hurts, where it excites, where it destabilizes. Questions that awaken memories, desires, and weaknesses that she cannot hide from. Questions that don't entertain but provoke. The first question is simple but devastating. Ask her, what kind of man was impossible for you to forget, even when you knew he wasn't good for you? Do you see what this does? It doesn't invite her to talk about safe things. It doesn't let her recite the polite version of what she wants, a good guy, respectful, attentive. No. It forces her mind to go somewhere else. Straight into a memory. Straight into the face of a man she shouldn't have wanted but couldn't resist. And when she goes there, when she relives that contradiction, she feels something. She feels that tension all over again. And the brilliance of this question is that it doesn't accuse her. It doesn't judge her. It just opens a door. She steps into it willingly. And in that moment, she begins to associate you with the feeling she just recalled, the excitement of being disarmed, the rush of being with a man who wasn't safe but unforgettable. You didn't have to say you were that man. You didn't have to prove anything. Her own memory did the work for you. Understand this. Women are haunted not by the men who gave them stability, but by the men who disrupted their stability. Desire is born in contradiction. She knows she shouldn't want him, but she does. She knows he's dangerous, but she can't stop thinking about him. That is the emotional storm you're activating. And when she tells you about him, listen closely, not to judge but to decode. Because in her answer lies the blueprint of her emotional pattern. If she describes chaos, she craves intensity. If she describes distance, she craves mystery. If she describes dominance, she craves surrender. Every word she says is a clue. And you are not there to condemn her past, you are there to understand what burns in her. This is where most men fail. They hear a woman talk about her past and they become jealous, insecure, needy. They think her memory of another man is a threat. But for you it's an opening. A glimpse into the imprint that shaped her. And if you are wise, you won't try to compete with that man. You'll use the emotional map she just handed you to carve your own unforgettable mark. Because here's the secret. The man she couldn't forget wasn't unforgettable because of who he was, but because of what he awakened in her. If you understand what that was, you can recreate it, with intelligence, with control, without losing yourself in the process. That is the power of the first question. It's not just conversation. It's confession. It's the beginning of a bond that bypasses logic and dives straight into emotion. Because when a woman confesses something she usually hides, she begins to link that vulnerability to you. And once that link is formed, once she has bared a piece of herself in your presence, she cannot easily erase you. You become a part of the memory. You become a part of the contradiction. You become the question she cannot stop asking herself. And that, my brother, is how it begins. With one question that most men are too afraid to ask. One question that doesn't seek to please but to provoke. One question that doesn't make her comfortable but makes her restless. And restlessness is the seed of obsession. Now comes the second strike. One that doesn't just stir memory, but shakes the part of her she doesn't show to the world. You look her in the eye and ask, what's the most dangerous thing someone has ever awakened in you? Do you feel the weight of that? This isn't small talk. This isn't asking about her favorite food or her hobbies. This is slicing past the surface and dragging her into the shadows of her own desire. Because every woman has a version of herself she hides. The reckless one, the impulsive one, the one that crosses lines when the right man pushes the right buttons. And when you ask this, you're daring her to touch that part of herself in front of you. It's not about what someone did to her, it's about what she felt. That distinction changes everything. Because now you're not fishing for gossip, you're provoking a confession. You're forcing her to remember the side of herself that got out of control, the part she usually keeps buried. And here's the truth. Women don't obsess over the men who gave them peace. They obsess over the men who made them dangerous to themselves. The ones who ignited a hunger they didn't know they had. The ones who made them break their own rules. Understand what happens inside her when you ask this. She flinches just slightly because you've touched a nerve. Her body remembers before her words do. Maybe it was the man whose look made her feel naked without him touching her. Maybe it was the man whose silence drove her crazy. Maybe it was the man who pulled her into something she swore she'd never do. Whatever it was, she can't deny it. She knows it happened. And the memory of that danger, of that fire, still lingers somewhere in her. And here's the Machiavellian brilliance. By asking this, you're not promising to be safe. You're positioning yourself as the man who doesn't want her polished, polite version. You're showing her you want the real thing. The woman who burns, the woman who craves, the woman who feels alive when she loses control. And that unnerves her. It excites her. Because every other man is trying to tame her, to make her feel secure, to make her behave. But you're telling her without saying it, I can handle the side of you that terrifies you. That is power. Because a woman doesn't want to be trapped in her safe self forever. She wants someone who can draw out the hidden, the forbidden, the dangerous. And when you invite her to reveal it, you become the man associated with her fire. Do you understand how unforgettable that makes you? You're not another face in her safe world. You're the face tied to her forbidden one. And that is where obsession is born. But don't make the mistake of pushing too hard. The art is in the balance. You're not demanding she tells you every detail. You're not interrogating. You're leaving the door open, daring her to step through it. If she gives you something, even a smile, a nervous laugh, or a vague answer, that's already a confession. That's already proof that you've touched something few men have the courage to touch. And if she does reveal it? If she tells you that someone once made her feel wild, reckless, addicted? Then you just received a map. A map to her shadow. A map to the emotions that override her logic. And if you know how to use that map, if you know how to awaken those same feelings with intelligence and control, she will link you to the same fire. And once she links you to it, she won't be able to let go. Because the truth is brutal. Women don't stay addicted to the men who give them comfort. They stay addicted to the men who awaken storms inside them. The storms they can't control. The storms they'll never admit they crave. And when you're the one to ask the question that pulls the storm to the surface, you're no longer safe, no longer ordinary, you're unforgettable. The third question is subtle, almost innocent on the surface, but underneath it's pure fire. You ask her, what signals does your body give when someone attracts you but you're trying to hide it? Do you see what this does? It traps her between two realities, her words and her body. And here's the truth, her body will always betray her. No matter how controlled, how careful, how guarded she thinks she is, her body tells the story her mind wants to bury. Her pupils dilate. Her breathing shifts. Her voice softens. Her hands fidget. Her legs cross tighter. Her skin flushes. She knows it. You know it. And when you ask this question, you're telling her without saying it, I see through you. Most men are blind. They listen to what she says and take it at face value. They miss the nervous movements, the restless eyes, the flickers of desire that slip past her control. But when you position yourself as the man who reads what she doesn't want to reveal, you elevate yourself. You separate from the crowd. You stop being another man she can fool with polite words. You become the man who sees behind the mask. And that unsettles her more than any line you could ever use. Think about her state of mind when she hears this question. Suddenly she's self-conscious. Her mind flashes back to moments when she thought she was hiding her attraction, when she bit her lip, when her breathing betrayed her, when her gaze lingered too long. Now she wonders, has he noticed that in me? Has he already read me without me knowing? And that thought alone plants a seed of tension that grows every time she looks at you. This is the elegance of the question. It doesn't demand a confession. It forces her body to start reacting in real time. Because once she admits how she behaves, once she describes the signs, she becomes hyper-aware of herself. If she tells you, I play with my hair, or I can't look straight, guess what happens the next time she's with you? Her body betrays her again. She plays with her hair. She avoids your gaze. She breathes faster. And now she knows you know. Now every move becomes a silent confession. That's where the power is. You've created a game without rules, a dance without music, a tension without words. She knows she can't fully hide from you anymore. And women find that irresistible, not because you've exposed them cruelly but because you've proven that you're not naive. You're not blind. You're not like the rest. You can see the invisible, and that is magnetic. But here's the deeper layer. Once she answers, she's handing you the keys to her desire. She's literally telling you how to recognize when you're affecting her. Do you understand how priceless that is? She's revealing her own tells, her own secret code. And with that knowledge, you can decide exactly when to push, when to pull back, when to hold the silence, when to lean in. You've turned her body into a language you can read fluently. This is Machiavellian seduction at its core. You're not forcing her to reveal, she's revealing herself. You're not trying to impress, you're simply observing. And by observing, you dominate the frame. Because the man who can read her without needing her words becomes the man she cannot control. And the man she cannot control becomes the man she cannot stop thinking about. So when you ask her this question, do it with calm. With a half smile, with steady eyes. Let the silence after hang heavy. Let her fill it with her nervous laughter, with her fidgeting, with her shifting gaze. Every reaction is confirmation. Every hesitation is proof. And once you've seen it, once you've read it, you don't need to say anything else. She knows you know. And that silent knowledge is the most intoxicating power you can hold. Because what does it mean in the end? It means you've stepped into a realm most men never enter. The realm where attraction is no longer spoken, it's felt. Where desire isn't admitted, it's betrayed. Where her body is louder than her voice. And once she feels that you're the man who can read her body like an open book, she won't be able to play the same games with you as she does with others. And that difference is exactly what drives her crazy. The fourth question is the one that makes her shift in her seat, the one that strips away her armor. You ask her, what is your most secret weakness, the one only someone truly special could ever discover? Do you feel how heavy that lands? Most men never dare to ask this because they're too busy talking about themselves, too busy proving, too busy playing safe. But when you ask this, you're not chasing the polished version of her. You're hunting for the fracture, the crack beneath the surface, the flaw she hides from the world. And that is exactly where intimacy is born. Understand this. Women are seen every day, but they are rarely seen. They are noticed for beauty, for charm, for confidence. But who dares to look beneath? Who dares to ask about the hidden wound, the soft spot, the place she keeps guarded? Almost no one. Which is why when you ask this, it disarms her completely. Because she realizes you're not like the rest. You're not here to flatter the mask, you're here to touch the skin beneath it. Now she might not give you a direct answer. She might smile nervously, brush it off, or even laugh it away. But that reaction itself is an answer. It tells you there's something there, something she doesn't hand over easily. And the very fact that you dared to ask plants a seed. It makes you the man who looked where others were afraid to. That alone separates you from the crowd. But if she does answer, even a little, then you've crossed into sacred ground. Maybe she tells you about her fear of being abandoned, about the part of her that crumbles when she's ignored, about the side of her that craves dominance but is afraid to admit it. Whatever she reveals, she's showing you her soft underbelly. And here is where you must be dangerous in the right way, not by exploiting it but by holding it with control. By not judging. By not flinching. By proving with your silence, your calmness, that you can handle her truth. Because women aren't afraid of men who see their beauty, they're afraid of men who see their weakness and run. When you don't run, when you stay steady, when you make her feel that her weakness doesn't lower her value but raises her connection to you, something shifts inside her. She begins to see you as the one who can handle the version of her that terrifies her. And that is unforgettable. This is Machiavellian in its brilliance. You are not asking to control her, you are asking to understand. You are positioning yourself as the man who doesn't need the easy version of her, the smile, the small talk, the practiced persona. You are signaling that you want the real thing, even if it's messy, even if it's dark, even if it's fragile. And that signal makes her restless. Because deep down, every woman craves a man who can look at her flaws and still not turn away. Think of the power this gives you. If she trusts you enough to reveal even a fraction of her secret weakness, you now hold a part of her that no one else has touched. You're in her memory, carved into the space she usually hides. And every time she thinks of that weakness, she will also think of you. The man who dared to ask, the man who didn't judge, the man who made her feel seen in a way few ever have. That association is potent. It lingers. It creates a tether she cannot cut easily. But the deeper truth is this. The weakness she reveals is also the key to her desire. Because what she hides is what she fears, and what she fears is often what she secretly longs for someone to touch. If she admits her weakness is her hunger for intensity, then you know where her fire lies. If she admits her weakness is her fear of not being enough, then you know how to pull her into wanting to prove herself to you. Every weakness is a doorway. And you are the man who now knows where the door is. Most men will never walk through it. They'll stay outside, complimenting her beauty, talking about the weather, asking what she does for work. They'll keep it safe. And they'll be forgotten. But the man who asks her about her secret weakness? He lives in her mind rent-free. Because he reminded her she has depths she doesn't show, and he made her reveal a glimpse of them. That is power. That is seduction. That is why she will remember you when she forgets the rest. So when you ask this, don't rush. Don't fidget. Let the silence hang. Let her feel the weight of the question. Let her decide how much to give. And whatever she gives, even if it's nothing but a shy smile, you've already won. Because you've forced her to confront the truth. You're not here for her mask. You're here for her soul. And women, don't forget the man who touches their soul. The fifth question is a blade wrapped in silk. You ask her, what does a man do that makes you feel in danger but at the same time makes you want him even more? This isn't a casual question. It's an ambush to her rational mind. Because every woman knows this truth but few admit it. The same man who unsettles her, who destabilizes her, who shakes her sense of control, is often the one she cannot resist. And when you ask this, you're forcing her to confront the contradiction she lives with, the collision between her fear and her desire. Do you understand the power in that? You're not asking her about safety. You're not asking her what makes her comfortable. You're asking her to confess the behaviors, the energies, the moves that make her pulse quicken even as her logic screams no. That's where her obsession hides. And most men never dare to go there. Picture her reaction. She takes a breath, maybe shifts in her chair because instantly her mind goes back to a moment she doesn't usually revisit. Maybe it was the man who didn't need her, the one whose indifference felt like a slap and a magnet at the same time. Maybe it was the man who locked eyes with her across a room and held her gaze until she looked away, her heart racing. Maybe it was the man who walked away at the exact moment she thought she had him. Whatever it was, it made her feel exposed, destabilized, a little afraid, and yet she craved him more for it. And here's where the Machiavellian brilliance lies. By asking this, you're showing her that you're not afraid of her contradictions. You're telling her that you understand her desire is not logical, not neat, not polite. You're acknowledging that what she wants isn't always what she admits. And that admission alone disarms her. Because now she knows, you're not playing the game of surface attraction. You're playing the game of her hidden instincts. This is dangerous ground. Because the danger she describes is rarely physical, it's emotional. It's the danger of losing control. The danger of breaking her own rules. The danger of surrendering to a force stronger than her logic. That's what she remembers. That's what excites her. And when she starts to confess it to you, when she puts it into words, she begins to feel it again, in your presence. She starts to associate that contradiction, that forbidden rush, with you. And that is when she begins to spiral. Most men will never reach this point. They're too eager to prove they're safe, too desperate to play the gentleman, too terrified of her darker side. But safe never keeps her up at night. Safe never burns in her memory. Safe never makes her crazy. What makes her crazy is the edge, the man who walks that line between control and chaos, between comfort and danger, between yes and no. When she answers, listen carefully. Because she's not just telling you about some past experience, she's handing you the key to her rawest desire. If she says, I love when a man looks at me like he can see right through me, she's telling you exactly how to penetrate her mind. If she says, when a man doesn't need me, it drives me insane, she's admitting that scarcity fuels her attraction. If she says, when he disappears right when I want more, she's confessing that unpredictability is her addiction. Every answer is a confession. Every word is a map. And once you hold that map, you're no longer guessing. You know where her desire lives. You know the edge she craves. And that knowledge makes you dangerous because now you can choose to awaken that side of her with precision. But here's the key, you must never use this recklessly. The point is not to become cruel, not to exploit her vulnerability, not to break her spirit. The point is to understand the storm that moves her, and to be the man who can awaken it without losing control himself. Because that's the difference between a boy who plays with fire and a man who becomes fire. The boy burns himself. The man makes her burn for him. This is why the fifth question is unforgettable. It drags her into the very place she tries to keep hidden. It forces her to admit that danger excites her, that fear and desire often walk hand in hand. And once she admits it, she can never look at you the same way again. Because you are now tied to that confession. You are the man who knows what makes her tremble. You are the man who holds her contradiction in his hands. And when a woman gives you her contradiction, when she shows you the place where her logic dies and her desire begins, she will never forget you. Because you've touched the truth she hides even from herself. And the man who touches that truth is the man she craves in silence long after the conversation is over. The sixth question is the one that cracks open the door to her imagination. You ask her, what's the craziest thing you would do if nobody ever found out it was you? This is not a playful, surface-level question. It's an invitation to step into her forbidden world. Because every woman, every single one, has a version of herself she hides. The reckless one, the impulsive one, the side that wants to taste chaos without consequence. And when you ask this, you're not talking to the polished, social version of her. You're talking to the woman she doesn't even admit exists. The shadow she keeps locked away. Think about the psychology here. You're removing judgment. You're removing shame. You're telling her, forget rules. Forget expectations. Forget guilt. Show me the purest, most unfiltered version of your desire. And that excites her. It terrifies her. It makes her pulse quicken because suddenly she realizes, you're not asking for the safe answer. You're asking her to confess something she's never even said out loud. What happens next is fascinating. Maybe she laughs, testing you, throwing out a tame answer just to see how you react. Maybe she says something outrageous, something you wouldn't expect from her. Maybe she dodges with a smile, but in her silence, in her eyes, you'll see the truth. She thought of something instantly. Even if she doesn't say it, the thought alone has already linked itself to you. You've made her imagine a version of herself with you as the witness, and that seed is enough to haunt her. The genius of this question is that it shifts the frame completely. Most men trap her in boring scripts, where she works, what her hobbies are, what she likes to do on weekends. But you've just asked her to step into a fantasy. You've given her permission to think like no one else ever allows her to. And in doing so, you become the man associated with freedom, with rebellion, with desire unchained. That is intoxicating. And here's the truth about women. They may not act on their darkest impulses, but they never forget the man who made them imagine it. Because imagination is more powerful than reality. Imagination is endless. Imagination lingers long after the moment is over. And by asking this, you've planted yourself in her imagination forever. Understand the Machiavellian angle. You don't press for details. You don't force her to explain. You let the question breathe. You let the silence after hang heavy, daring her to fill it. And whether she does or doesn't, you've already won. Because now, when she looks at you, she'll wonder if you can see the answer in her eyes. She'll wonder if you've guessed what she thought of. And that wondering keeps you alive in her mind. But if she does answer with honesty, if she whispers something bold, something unfiltered, you've just unlocked a level of intimacy most men will never touch. Because in that moment, she's not the composed woman the world sees. She's raw. She's daring. She's showing you the side of herself she usually hides. And once she shows you that side, she can't take it back. You're tied to it forever. This is how obsession begins, not by giving her what she expects but by provoking what she suppresses. By daring her to admit she has a wild side, a reckless side, a side that doesn't fit the rules. And once she admits it to you, even in a joke, even in a hint, you've become the man linked to her rebellion. And women never forget the man who gave them permission to step outside their cage. So when you ask her this, don't flinch. Hold her gaze. Let her see that you won't judge her no matter what she says. Let her feel that you can handle the rawest version of her. Because that's what drives her crazy. Not the man who tells her she's beautiful, not the man who plays it safe, but the man who invites her to reveal her madness, and proves he won't run when she does. And that, my brother, is why this question is so devastatingly powerful. You're not just speaking to her, you're speaking to the parts of her she thought no one would ever ask about. You're making her imagine. You're making her restless. You're making her feel alive in your presence. And once a woman feels that, she cannot erase you. The seventh question is one that cuts with surgical precision. You ask her, how do you behave when you're starting to fall for someone but you don't want to admit it? Now think about the brilliance of this. You're not asking her if she's fallen in love before. You're not asking her about exes or safe stories. You're forcing her to step into the battlefield of her own contradictions. The exact moment where her heart accelerates while her mind slams on the brakes. That space where she's torn between surrendering and hiding, between wanting and resisting. That space is where her most revealing answers live. Every woman has her tell. Some pull away pretending they don't care. They get colder, distant, act busy because if they admit their feelings they feel exposed. Others do the opposite. They become sweeter, softer, more attentive while their words still deny everything. And when you ask this, you're not just looking for her answer. You're telling her without saying it, I see the gap between what you say and what you feel. This is devastating because it makes her self-conscious in your presence. She starts to wonder, does he already know how I act when I catch feelings? Has he already read me? Is he seeing something in me right now that I haven't admitted? That thought alone creates tension. It makes her more aware of her own behavior around you, which means you're already inside her head. And here's the Machiavellian beauty. Once she describes her patterns, whether she says she pulls back, avoids eye contact, or suddenly becomes more attentive, she's given you the script. She's handed you the manual on how she reveals attraction. And from then on, every time she behaves that way around you, she knows you know. That awareness is irresistible. It traps her in the silent game of I'm exposed, and he's the one exposing me without saying a word. But there's another layer. By asking this, you're positioning yourself as the man who doesn't fear her emotions. You're telling her, you can deny it all you want, I'll still see the truth. And women crave this. They crave a man who can hold what they feel without them needing to package it, polish it, or explain it. Most men need clarity. They beg for reassurance. They want her to spell it out. Do you like me? Do you love me? That neediness destroys desire. But you don't need the words. You read the signs. You stand calm in the fog. And that makes you magnetic. Now imagine her answering this. Maybe she laughs nervously, saying, I act cold when I actually like someone. Maybe she admits she gets shy, fidgets, avoids eye contact. Maybe she goes quiet, because she realizes she's just described how she's been acting around you. Whatever she gives you, you've already shifted the frame. Because now she's thinking, does he know I'm doing that right now? Does he realize he's the one making me act this way? That question will haunt her long after the conversation ends. This is what separates forgettable men from unforgettable ones. Forgettable men take her words literally. They live on the surface. Unforgettable men expose the contradiction between her words and her body, between her denial and her desire. They shine light on the moments she tries to hide, the vulnerability she can't fully control. And once you've revealed that to her, she can't unsee it. She can't hide from you. You become the mirror that shows her what she really feels. But here's the dangerous part. When you hold up that mirror, you must not flinch. If she admits she hides when she likes someone, don't rush to comfort her. If she says she gets cold, don't joke it away. Just let it sit. Look at her with that calm, knowing gaze that tells her, you can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me. That is the frame of a man who cannot be fooled. And women respect that. They fear it. They crave it. Because here's the truth. Women are not obsessed with men they can read easily. They're obsessed with men who read them. They're obsessed with the man who sees the signs they try to bury, who understands them better than they understand themselves. That man bypasses their defenses, crawls into their subconscious, and lives there rent-free. So when you ask this seventh question, understand what you're doing. You're not asking for information. You're declaring power. You're telling her that you don't need her to admit what she feels, because her actions will betray her and you'll notice. That is what drives her crazy. Not that you asked, but that you already know.